So we have a couple of questions from Alexander Vata here, if you're happy to answer them, Dave.
Yeah, sure.
So this is on Bosnia. What did a typical mission tasking look like, and what was mentally, operationally different compared to the training?
So a typical tasking was 4 hours in the opt-in flight area of responsibility, and you would be tasked by AWACS. So there was an AWACS looking after you, and they would be in contact with the bunker at Vicenza, where the main decision maker was if you ended up seeing an aircraft in the no-fly zone. We never saw any fixed wing aircraft violating the no-fly zone, but we did see helicopters violating the no-fly zone. So you'd find, it might be vectored towards a helicopter that either you've seen on your radar, or more likely the AWACS is seen, somewhere else in the AOR. You're vectored towards it, then you put your radar on it, try to find that helicopter, and then try to get eyes on the helicopter. Because of the low-level ground threat, you'd usually stay above 10,000 feet at that point. And if the helicopter was seen and was still in the air, then you would have a series of warnings to read out. So I'd have that on my knee pad and read out a warning to the aircraft. And you give a position. I remember doing one at night where there was a helicopter below us. We thought it was still airborne. We got a glimpse of it. We thought it was still airborne. With night vision goggles, so we can see them. And I gave the position, and I said, flying at that place, you must land immediately, or otherwise you'll be shot down. And there was an airliner about 200 miles away had heard this.
Really?
It's not me.
Brilliant stuff. And the second one from Alex here. Which skills were truly critical for a navigator in the F3, and above all, which skills did a nav have to bring that the people in the front seat didn't?
Well, on the F3, you had to bring the skill of operating a radar, which was a 1970s gusting 1980s radar. So that was quite intense. It had a little bit of raw information on it. Modern radars, everything's synthetic, and everything is so to make it as simple as possible for the pilot. But back then, there was a bit of raw information, which was really useful because you could get a hint that a target was, for example, maneuvering, and that would show in the raw information before it would show in the computer-generated information of the heading of the target. So you're looking closely at that, and you had to have that skill, but you didn't bring anything necessarily different to the pilot other than that skill. And in terms of communication between the nav and the pilot, the best scenario in the F3 was when two competent people flew it, and there was hardly any chat in the cockpit.
I've heard that before, yes.
Because a modern aircraft, in terms, modern enough that the pilot can look at the head-down display, he can see the information. You see the height the target's at, you can see the heading they're doing. So he or she can make that decision to start taking, geometry moves, and there's no need for the nav at that point to be saying anything. Keep yourselves nice and quiet, build the essay, listen to what else is going on outside the cockpit. Try and give yourself the time to think about the difficult things rather than the easy things, which is making a decision on which way to turn against the target.
Brilliant stuff. And the last one from Alex. How big was the technological leap from the F3 in its final form to the first operational Typhoons?
Well, the F3 in its final form was pretty good, as it talked about. And of course, the weapons platform was AMRAAM ASRAAM at that point, and that's exactly what's on the Typhoon. But of course, the platforms itself, in terms of maneuvering, was chalk and cheese. I flew in DA4, and we came off of one intercept, which was a mocked up 1v2 intercept against a couple of GR1s that were flown out of Wharton, and the pilot put the power up to military power, so no reheat or anything, And before we knew it, we were back at 35,000 feet.
That's incredible.
The engine's coming back again, so you're not spending a lot of fuel up there. You know, that would have cost a lot of fuel to an F3 and a lot of effort to an F3. It was different.
Yeah.
And the radar was different. You know, the radar is fully synthetic and to make it as simple as possible for the pilot. And it's got a lot of horsepower as well, so it's a bigger dish than what you see inside the F3, so it had bigger pickup ranges as well.